Days after a barge took out a popular floating restaurant and marina, Local 12's David Winter boards a towboat to see what might have gone wrong.
Plus, Governor DeWine introduces a new gun safety plan, what it will change about background checks.
And Kings Island's newest attraction is setting all kinds of records, and we'll get a sneak peek at the park's first Giga Coaster. This is Local 12 News live at 6.
Breaking news alerts and the hour-by-hour forecast from the Weather Authority. This is Local 12 News.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kemi Dierking.
And I'm Kyle Inskeep. The barge that crushed the Ludlow Bromley Yacht Club last week is now back in service, but there are still some unanswered questions about that collision.
Yeah, David Winter takes us aboard a towboat searching for possible answers.
To get a better idea of what may have happened at the Ludlow Bromley Yacht Club, we hopped aboard a towboat and headed upriver on the Ohio.
We go full ahead. You can hear the turbo start whistling now.
And no one better to ask than Captain J.D. Arnold, who's been pushing barges up and down the Ohio for 45 years. He says there are really only 3 reasons why the collision could have occurred.
It could have been weather-related, mechanical, or incapacitation.
Incapacitation could be anything from a medical issue to the person at the helm falling asleep. Captain Arnold says towboats all have some type of dead man's alarm.
If you nod off and don't move these rudders for so long, a minute, then it sets off an alarm. So we've got safeguards in place, but in a minute, a lot of things can happen too if you're in a tight area.
The captain says the alarm can also be manually turned off.
These are for the rudders. They move back and forth, they steer the boat.
Lead deckhand Damian Warner takes us into the engine and steering rooms.
If something were to happen wrong, like mechanically, this is a pretty likely place it's going to happen.
That's right.
And Damian says it can and does happen.
It can leak out real bad, or they can even come apart. You know, we've had them come apart before too, which is very dangerous because it's where we steer the boat.
May to Hines, northbound below Straight Creek.
We actually boarded this morning before dawn. We wanted to be underway while it was dark, just like when the collision occurred at Ludlow Bromley. The captain says modern electronics make the river nearly as easy to navigate at night as it is during the day. But day or night, fatigue can set in.
At the end of the watch, you're up walking around sometimes trying to stay awake. You're ready to go to bed and nothing going on. You get bored.
Back in the daylight, the captain tells us the boats have a black box of sorts, which will likely have a lot of information for investigators.
Of course, to find out exactly what did happen aboard the boat and the barge that hit the Ludlow Bromley Yacht Club, we'll just have to wait to hear from the Coast Guard in its final report. David Winter, Local 12 News.
And the National Waterways Foundation reports for every 1 barge injury and every 1 barge fatality, there are many more rail and semi-trailer casualties. The Coast Guard reports nationally an average of 21 towboat barge collisions have occurred every year over the past 18 years. The Coast Guard doesn't expect to release its findings regarding the Ludlow Bromley collision for several more weeks, if not months. Of course, we'll keep you posted.
My wife, Fran, and I.
Well, the day after the mass shooting in Dayton's Oregon District, protesters shouted at Governor DeWine to do something, and today he unveiled a plan to try to reduce gun violence. 2 of the central parts of Governor DeWine's plan have been expanding background checks and red flag legislation. Today he changed those. This afternoon, the governor was surrounded by dozens of mayors, police officers, and prosecutors. His new plan no longer includes mandatory background checks. Instead, people can get certified by the sheriff's office that they're allowed to buy a gun. Red flag legislation has been scrapped in favor of a pink slip. Instead of taking someone's gun away, he wants to reform the current process to involuntarily commit someone for mental health treatment. That person won't have their gun taken away, but they'll be taken away from their gun.
Our strong Ohio bill will enhance the state and federal background check systems to ensure more thorough results and prevent those under a weapons disability from purchasing a firearm. Our strong Ohio bill will increase the number of private sale background checks in Ohio while also protecting the rights of law-abiding gun owners.
And there are also tougher penalties if someone sells a gun to someone who legally can't have one.
A survivor of the shooting at the Fifth Third Center in downtown Cincinnati joined Governor DeWine and others in support of the bill. Whitney Austin was shot 12 times as she walked through the revolving door of the building on Fountain Square a little more than a year ago. Since the shooting, she has established the Whitney Strong Foundation, which is dedicated to reducing gun violence.
We also believe that there is an important role for gun owners, such as ourselves, to speak out in favor of reasonable solutions that seek to balance public safety and our right to bear arms.
Austin praised the diverse bipartisan group that stood with Governor DeWine as he unveiled his plans.
A man convicted in a deadly double shooting outside of a bar tells a judge that he didn't do it.
I'm innocent. I'm not of the killings I'm accused of. I didn't take part in this crime.
Jonathan Patton was found guilty of killing Stephen Anderson and Nathaniel Davis during a fight outside of the Rustic Tavern Bar in College Hill. This happened in September of last year. During Patton's trial, one witness testified that Patton passed a gun to the shooter. It took a jury 4 days to reach a verdict in this case. Patton's attorney told the judge they disagree with the jury's verdict.
He maintains his innocence in this matter. We feel that he was essentially a victim of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, Your Honor.
Now, that judge sentenced Patton to 24 years in prison. His attorneys say that he will appeal. The second gunman, Maurice Searcy, is still awaiting trial. Not long after the shooting, the Rustic Tavern shut down because of problems with crime in that area.
We now have a description for the getaway vehicle used in Cincinnati's most recent homicide. Jovan Fleming was shot to death on Vine Street near Green. This was on Sunday in Over the Rhine. And this was the 5th murder in the last few months in that area right near Grant Park. Police believe 2 suspects left the scene in a gray 2015 Kia Forte similar to this one, and it had an Ohio license plate number of HRN 9375. A grand jury adds charges against a man accused of a local murder who was arrested in Los Angeles. Matthew Arnold now faces charges of special felony murder and felonious assault. Police say he shot and killed 24-year-old Ricky Jackson Jr. in Westwood in August. Officers found Jackson's body outside of an apartment complex on Westwood Northern Boulevard near Ferncroft.
A major consumer goods company vowing to make a change for Mother Nature. Coming up, how it will cut its plastic use by hundreds of thousands of tons.
And still ahead, the parents of 2 young children are part of a class action lawsuit. Why they are taking on the makers of Fortnite.
Kroger saying it will halt the sale of e-cigarettes, citing mounting questions over the product's health and regulatory implications. The company says once the current inventory is sold, the products will no longer be available nationwide. Now, there have been 21 deaths linked to vaping, but many of those cases are linked to illegal products. The Centers for Disease Control is reporting at least 1,080 probable cases of lung injury associated with e-cigarettes.
Supreme Court justices returned to the bench this week for a packed term filled with hot-button issues, including abortion, guns, immigration, and gay rights. Tomorrow, justices will hear about 3 cases that raise the issue of whether federal employment law that bans discrimination based on sex also protects LGBTQ employees. Natalie Brand spoke to one of the plaintiffs in that case.
I didn't ask for any of this.
Gerald Bostock's legal battle started 6 years ago. On Tuesday, he takes his fight to the nation's highest court. Bostock was a child welfare coordinator for Clayton County, Georgia. He says he lost the dream job that he held for more than 10 years shortly after he joined a gay softball league.
I was fired for being gay. I lost my source of income. I even lost my medical insurance at a time that I was battling prostate cancer.
In a statement to CBS, an attorney for Clayton County says Mr. Bostock's sexual orientation had nothing to do with his termination, saying he was let go after a financial audit.
For Clayton County to suggest and allege that I did anything wrong is absolutely offensive and hurtful.
Supreme Court justices will hear Bostock's case along with 2 others. One involves a skydiving instructor in New York, and the other a transgender woman who was fired from a Michigan funeral home.
Ultimately, justices will weigh in on whether Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act extends workplace protections to members of the LGBTQ community.
Title VII has been understood for more than half a century as protecting women from being disfavored compared to men because of their sex and vice versa. It doesn't say anything about any other classifications.
John Birch of the Alliance Defending Freedom will be arguing Tuesday on behalf of one of the business owners. He says it's up to Congress to specify or redefine the law. More than 20 states have their own laws barring discrimination based on sexual orientation, but Georgia is not one of them.
I should not have to move because of who I am, how I identify, and who I love.
Bostock says he's now fighting for the many others who may be in similar situations. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Coming up, preparing for next summer.
We've done so many firsts here at Kings Island. It's kind of unusual to have a small Midwestern park, do as many firsts as Kings Island has done over the years.
After the break, how this new roller coaster is already setting records.
And new ahead at 11 tonight, a stunning number of bridges across the country need to be fixed or replaced. But funding to do that is held up in Washington, which means it will take a long time to fix all of our bridges. Dwayne Pullman reveals just how long in the next Dwayne Is That Right? And that's tonight on Local 12 News, live at 11.
Also new for you tonight, if you're a frustrated Bengals fan like so many of us, you are not alone. A local bar owner is doing something kind of crazy, and he's not stopping until the Bengals bring home a win. It's going to be on Local 12 News live at 11. You don't want to miss this story.
Law firm seeks to launch a class action lawsuit against the company behind the immensely popular game Fortnite. The filing in Montreal court against the U.S. company over the online shooter survival game is on behalf of the parents of 2 children, ages 10 and 15. A lawyer for the firm accuses the company of using psychologists to create a game that is as addictive as possible and then failing to divulge the risks to people. Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, has not commented on the lawsuit. Hundreds of millions of accounts have been registered for people to play that game.
Well, Unilever pledging to slash the amount of plastic packaging it produces. The company is behind brands like Ben & Jerry's ice cream, Lipton tea, and also Dove soap. It promises to cut use of new plastic in half by 2025. The company says it will sell more unwrapped products and use more recycled plastic in its packaging instead. Experts at the World Economic Forum also warned earlier this year that by 2050, plastics are expected to outweigh fish in the ocean.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is.
All right, summer, sadly, is just a memory now.
It is
I
indeed.
know, but Kings Island wants you to look forward to next summer.
Yeah, the park is building Orion, its first ever Giga Coaster. Kimmy and I are really excited about this. So this will take you 300 feet into the air, and Good Morning Cincinnati's Catherine Robinson gives us a progress report on construction.
Safety vest, check. Hard hat, check. That means it's time to go take a behind-the-scenes tour at the construction site for Orion. The first pieces of steel locally manufactured in Clermont County are in place for the coaster that will take riders 300 feet above the park. There's still 2/3 to go on constructing climb to get to this drop.
This is the bottom of the first drop of the ride. After you come off the lift hill, this is the valley that you'll be in at 91 miles an hour.
The drop is expected to be complete in the next several weeks. Orion is setting records in the park, the fastest, tallest, and longest steel coaster.
We've done so many firsts here at Kings Island. It's kind of unusual to have a small Midwestern park do as many firsts as Kings Island has done over the years.
But it comes with its own set of challenges.
The biggest problems with these is the height. You know, you're way up in the air. So the cranes have to lift so much higher, a lot bigger structure because it's such a big, intense ride. So the steel's a lot heavier. So there's a lot more on these giga coasters. There is a lot more work involved in trying to get them erected.
Designers try to take advantage of the land and location when constructing Orion. Spokesman Chad Showalter believes it's something that will draw crowds.
When you have a Giga Coaster like this, there's only 7 of them in North America. So you've got very few opportunities to experience something like this. So coaster enthusiasts from around the planet are going to put Kings Island on their list for next season.
Lots of work happening, lots to go, but crews say Orion is on track to open by the spring season. Reporting from Kings Island, Catherine Robinson, Local 12 News.
And get this, you may see Orion on the Kings Island skyline even before then, as long as winter doesn't cause delays. Project leaders expect the coaster to be completed to start test runs by some point in February.
From Local 12, the Weather Authority, this is John Gumbs' hour-by-hour forecast.
Well, some of us got some rain today,
yes,
but it's going to be a while till we get more, right?
Looks like our next chance really is going to come Saturday, so we'll have to wait until then. A little bit of rain will move through next weekend. Today, though, Cammie, the coolest day we've seen around here since the middle of May. We actually saw highs stay in the 60s in most parts of the tri-state today. Pretty close to average, if not a little below average, something I'm used to. 66 degrees the high today, the average 69. Our record today, 90, back in that hot summer and early fall of 2007. And this was the coolest high temperature that we've seen in Cincinnati since May the 13th. We also had, officially at the International Airport, just over a ½ inch of rainfall yesterday and today combined, and this is the biggest 2-day total of rainfall we've seen in 39 days, when we saw just under an inch and a half on August 26th and August 27th. And this is the biggest rain that we've really seen since Labor Day, when we had almost a ½ inch of rainfall. Down to the southeast of Cincinnati. That's where we had soaking beneficial rains. Adams County, down through parts of Mason County, Brown, southern Highland County, even down across a good chunk of northern Kentucky. Rainfall estimates of between 1.5 inches and 3.5 inches. But as you got into Indiana, it was very little, 1/10 to 3/10 of an inch, barely putting a dent in the drought conditions that we have seen here as of late. Take a look at radar now. A couple of sprinkles still coming up through Bracken, Mason County, up into Brown County and Adams County. So you may see a few drops of rain past your location early on this evening to the southeast of Cincinnati. Cold front has moved off into West Virginia, and behind the front, we're seeing that clearing line sweeping in from the north and west. And you can see that sunshine on Tower Cam now as we look back to the west. We are going to clear out tonight. We're going to turn pretty cool too. 64 north winds at 3. We fall through the 60s into the 50s. And by tomorrow morning, many locations will be down in the 40s with perhaps a little bit of fog around to start your day. But with high pressure over us tomorrow, we're looking at weather that's about as good as it gets in Cincinnati any time of the year. So watch out for that fog in the morning. Temperatures start out around 46 degrees, and then we'll climb back into the low 70s. Lots of sunshine around tomorrow afternoon and warmer weather than what we saw today. And that's the trend here as winds turn in out of the northeast, eventually east and southeast as the week goes on. A warming trend sets up. So by the end of the week, upper 70s and low 80s will be back into the forecast. Also going on this week, Blink Cincinnati gets started Thursday. If you're going out there, we fall from the 70s early in the evening down into the mid 60s. So the weather for that looks outstanding on Thursday. And by Friday, look at this, we're up around 80 degrees before the bottom drops out again going into the upcoming weekend. And that's due to this massive storm system that'll be moving out of the Rockies toward the upper Midwest. Warm air ahead of it into the 80s around here, but then the cold front passes Saturday, and with that front will come some showers in here during the day Saturday. Following the frontal boundary, well, we get cooler and windy going into the day on Sunday. Of course, all those changes can be tracked with our free Weather Authority app. You can find that in the App Store and on Google Play by searching for WKRC. Morning fog tomorrow, afternoon sun, 71 degrees, a beautiful day. And then notice we get a little warmer each day, 76 Wednesday, 78 Thursday, and 82 Friday. A very slim shower chance Thursday and late Friday. Looks like your best chance of rain holds off until Saturday with that front. And following the front, we've got some wind. We've got some 60s for highs. Some places may not get out of the 50s on Saturday, and lows may flirt in some communities with the upper 30s by Sunday morning. Oh, that'll make you take notice. So this is the time of the year, as I said earlier, you got to have all the clothes. You know, you get your fall clothes ready. You got to have still some summer clothes going for days like Friday. Sure. It's a little of everything.
I'm digging this fall suit you got on.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you, John.
The Local 12 Sports Report, sponsored by Joseph Chevrolet.
In a duel of winless teams Sunday at Paul Brown Stadium for the second straight week, the Bengals provided their foe its first win. Unlike the blowouts to San Francisco and last Monday in Pittsburgh, this was the third time they fell by 4 points or less. Down 4 late in the third, they went for it on 4th and 1, and that failure epitomized their futility. With the Cardinals' triumph, there are now just 4 teams left looking for win number 1, and the Jets and Dolphins have only had 4 chances to get theirs. And the Bengals play them both in December. Chris Renko ventured into the locker room this afternoon to see how having the league's worst record is affecting them.
Nearing the halfway point of the season, the Bengals still searching for their first win in 2019. They've lost 12 of their last 13 games, and now with a date with the rival Baltimore Ravens on the road on Sunday, the road does not get any easier. The message the players had in the locker room today, it's simple. We have to perform better if we want to get in that win column.
We are grown men. At the end of the day, we can't put our heads down and think we're the worst team, because we're not. Our record says so, but I still believe, and he does as well. So we're off to Baltimore and hopefully go up there and get the win.
Make more plays. We haven't made enough plays to win football games. That's why we're on 5.
And really the thing that's kept this team together so far is head coach Zach Taylor's unwavering support and positivity. He believes that building that culture now through the struggles is going to pay dividends when the team finally turns things around. Now, how long that's going to take remains to be seen. With the Bengals at Paul Brown Stadium, Chris Renko, Local 12.
Chris, thanks. The Stripes are back on the home of the Bengals starting next Sunday in Baltimore when they face the first-place Ravens. Catch it at 1 as they try again for win number 1. During one of the Bengals' most successful recent runs, Jay Gruden was their offensive coordinator. 3 straight playoff appearances here helped him get the head coaching job in Washington in 2014. John Gruden's younger brother led them to a division title in 2015, but with Washington off to a winless start, he was summoned to the team center at 5 a.m. this morning to be fired. Redskins assistant head coach and offensive line coach Bill Callahan takes over in the interim. He's the father of Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan.